Lakeland PBS presents Common Ground, brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Production funding of Common Ground is made possible in part by First National Bank Bemidji, continuing their second century of service to the community. Member FDIC. Welcome to Common Ground. I'm producer-director Scott Knudsen. In this second episode, we conclude our look at the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club.
Two, one, go! Alley, alley, alley! Go, you skaters!
The ski club supports Finlandia in that it grooms the trails. That's kind of the primary support. Snowjourn, Finlandia, Candlelight Ski Tour, Black Lake Lopet. Then in terms of its own sponsorship, the ski club sponsors and runs the Barnalopet Ski Race, which is the last event with the Sunday Ski School. It also have beginning of the season kickoff ski. Also sponsors a Tuesday and Thursday evening social ski. Again at the Mobile Maze, just come out and ski, get warmed in the warming house there. And then kind of the final event that the ski club sponsors is called the Tour De Bemidji, kind of patterned after the big Tour de Ski in Europe, where you ski these different trails, and they ski on all 7 of our Bemidji ski trails.
It was the late 70s when the ski club members put in a bid to have the National Ski Championships in Bemidji. And that failed. It didn't go through, but that led to the beginnings, I think, of the Minnesota Finlandia organization. And then a few years into the MinFin, they wanted to promote it as a really big event. And they got Bill Koch, who had won an Olympic medal, and they got him to come and ski. So that was like a big drawing card, like he was a hot skier at that time, and that was a way to get people to come and enjoy MinFin and meet Bill Koch. The people who were instrumental in bringing us the MinFin race contacted Governor Rudy Perpich at the time, and then I think he was the one perhaps who contacted the Finnish consulate, and we brought in a Finnish sponsor for our event, and it was called MinFin, and they declared Minnesota Finlandia the sister race to the Finlandia Hito ski marathon in Finland. MinFin, Minnesota Finlandia, was a big race, a much bigger race than it is now. Now it's maybe 200 people, but at that time it was maybe 600 to 800 skiers in a year, and it brought people from all over to town, and part of that was because we were part of the Great American Ski Chase, and that brought the elite skiers from around the country. They had to do a certain number of races in the series, and so they would come to Bemidji and ski our course and ski our race, and that attracted other good skiers and gave us a name.
Minnesota Finlandia started in 1979. And it actually started out as a tourism economic development endeavor. And so the charter founders of Finlandia put together the plan for Finlandia, what was unique, and that was for the race to be the longest marathon in North America over 2 days. So originally it was a 50-kilometer race, started on the lake in front of Paul and Babe, and then it made its way all the way up to Buena Vista, 50 kilometers on Saturday. Then the next day, folks got right back in their skis, started at Buena Vista, and made their way all the way back to BSU. So huge effort back in the original days, hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, including the National Guard, first responders, lots of feed stations, and the event drew hundreds and hundreds of participants from all over the nation. So moving from that point on, then there was different distances that Finlandia had, and then most recently, in the last number of years, Finlandia has stabilized to having a 50K marathon race, and then it has two 25-kilometer events. One is classic, one is skate, and the other is called Pursuit, which involves skiing half the distance on your classical skis and the other half on your skate skis. Skiers there rave about the beautiful trails and kind of the northern Minnesota charm with the Logging Hall of Fame and that great warm atmosphere there.
Mike Kerbin is the director of the Minnesota Finlandia. He's got a really small group of other volunteers who help him with things like registration, but he is the go-to guy for MinFin, and he's put in years and years and hours on MinFin.
So Mike Kerbin is Mr. Finlandia. I was a race director for Finlandia in the mid to later 90s, and when I retired, I passed the torch to Mike Kerbin for race director, and he's been the race director ever since. So from the late 1990s all the way to present, Mike has been the president of the Finlandia Ski Board and the race director of Finlandia.
Some more 10K finishers here, 10K tour finishers.
My name is Mike Kerbin, and I'm a member of the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club and the current executive director of the Minnesota Finlandia. I got into cross-country skiing in probably 1996. I was at the time working out at Buena Vista Ski Area as a ski school instructor, and Special Olympics came through, and I ended up helping out with some of their events there, and a word got out that I was available and somehow got tied in with the Minnesota Finlandia, first as a volunteer, and then a few years later became executive director. My job is basically to kind of make sure everybody's where they need to be and all the supplies are there when they need to be. We start real early in the morning that Saturday, getting water and food and stuff out to the feed stations and snowmobiling kids out to the various points of entry that they need to be at. And so my job is basically just to make sure that everything runs smoothly and all the way up until the end where we hand out the awards and we can take a breath.
Another lap for...
So when the Finlandia first started out, it required hundreds of volunteers because it was a point-to-point race. It started down in Bemidji at Paul and Babe and went all the way out to Buena Vista one day, and then the second day they skied Buena Vista all the way back to BSU campus into the stadium area there, and it required, hundreds of volunteers and medical people and course directors. But over the years, it became basically a circular race out at Buena Vista. And right now, I think we can get by with about 30 to 40 different volunteers. That includes course stewards. We have 3 different feed stations, our timing personnel, and people that handle the Hall of Fame food, and starters and other various people around.
Bemidji ski community is very blessed to have the commitment and the perseverance that Mike has to keep Finlandia going year after year. So, big hats to Mike. Wears many of these Finlandia caps in the different aspects of Finlandia. So he's just great. He's just awesome.
The favorite part of directing the Finlandia, probably seeing racers coming through the finish line. Because at that point my job is done. I can't do any more. And seeing the smiles on people's faces when they come across the line. There's a lot of fun parts to it. I mean, when we fire the guns and everybody goes out, but I think coming across the finish line is probably my favorite part.
And we have the start of the Minnesota Finlandia Home Place Bemidji-thon. These are 50K and 25K ski races.
All of our ski events are on trails, and they need to be groomed, and the ski club does its best, the ski club groomers, to give the best possible trail for the events.
So Mark Walters is the trail administrator for the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club. He is responsible and takes responsibility for applying for the grant and aid funds. He maintains all of our equipment. He doesn't do all the maintenance himself, but he takes charge of making sure everything's in good working order.
And I think in many regards, he is one of the backbone people in the ski club. He's the trail administrator. He inherited that job from Bob Montebello when Bob retired as trail administrator. He's also the head high school ski coach, and he's worked at and currently manages the home place. So in terms of fitting skis, he's very talented at that.
Well, my name is Mark Walters. I've been involved in Nordic skiing for the better part of 35 years. I started a little later. I first came across cross-country skiing as a means to cross-train. I was living in southeastern Minnesota working for a company, and that's kind of what they did in the off-season. The whole aspect of the sport just intrigued me. I liked the challenge of it. I liked the idea of being outdoors. Carried that enthusiasm with me through many different ski events. I was sponsored by a couple different companies, which made life a little easier. I did your American Birkebeiners, your Moravasa Lopets, and of course the Bemidji's Finlandia event. When I moved to Bemidji, I came across a core of people that were skiing, and some of them were definitely involved in the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club, and that kind of led to some of my basic volunteerism with the ski club. I'm involved with the DNR and their program called the Great American Ski Pass, which we call the Grant and Aid Trail Pass, which is solely the way Nordic skiing is funded in the Bemidji area. Our volunteer hours are recorded. It's something that I do. It's given to our local DNR. It's passed on to the state. And then those funds find their way back to the Bemidji Ski Club, which allows us to promote, maintain, and build projects. Like the project behind us. I mean, a huge project by the Bemidji Area Ski Club, the Snowmobile Club, volunteers and donors alike, and the county. The Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club, through a variety of grants and donations over the years, has developed quite a large fleet of equipment to try to groom. We keep some equipment, off-site here at the Mobile Maze. We keep equipment up at Buena Vista. We keep equipment up at Three Island. And then there's a handful of us that actually trailer around to some of the different sites and do grooming on the spot.
So basically, I'm like the trail director for the Buena Vista ski area, which is a 25K trail system out there. But basically, my job is to make sure that the Buena Vista trail system is accessible for the whole season.
The average number of people that work on any given trail is probably 2, because most of our sites have a couple sets of equipment at them. We try to encourage and we work with a couple different people a year to kind of bring them up to speed when, if I can't get to a spot, I can call in someone else to go there and groom. But that in itself is a process. You just can't turn someone loose with, $100,000 worth of equipment and go groom.
I didn't know 2 hoots about it to begin with. I learned the seat of my pants, I suppose, as much as anything. Having one snowmobile and a wooden drag that we pulled behind to level out the snow, borrowing equipment. Buena Vista, they loaned us rollers, and we put in more grant requests to the Nielsen Foundation, and they helped us out a great deal. We had our problems with grooming, especially on hills, and the Snowmobile Club had the same problem. Going up some of our hills in the cross-country trails is a real problem, and unless you got equipment that pulls easily and can pull heavy equipment, it doesn't work very well in some cases.
Our equipment has evolved over the years. Grooming back in the day might have been pulling a bed spring along to smooth out a trail. We now use a variety of very sophisticated pieces of equipment, and the whole preparation process is, first it has to snow, and snow will let you know what you can do to it. It's not just go out there and smack it down and put a track in. It's a process. It has to be rolled and packed. It has to set up, kind of like icing on a cake, and then you can actually manipulate it. You can smooth it out nicely to skate on, or you can set tracks in it to classical ski. So we have rollers, we have compactors, we have a machine that actually puts down the track to skate or classical ski. We use fairly large style snowmobiles. They're just bigger, heavier, they don't go very fast, they just pull a lot of weight. And it takes experience. It takes a lot of experience to be a good groomer. You got to get stuck, you got to get in trouble, you learn from your experiences, and you learn by working with snow.
One of the most important activities that the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club does is keep the trails open all year round. Now they're doing summer work where they're mowing, because if they mow the grass, then it'll get a little bit thicker than if they let it get tall and thin. And then in the fall is when we really get after it.
The trail cleanup in the fall is probably the most important part of getting a trail ready for grooming in the winter and after the snow falls.
Trees die, trees get wind blown, and so they drop on the trail. Sometimes brush and things kind of come in. So the fall time is when the ski club comes out, again on a volunteer basis, to each trail system and does what we call trail clearing. That involves equipment such as chainsaws, ATVs, and mowers that the club employs to make sure they're clear of debris, clear of trees, and so it's ready for the snow.
If a tree has already fallen on the trail, that's not a problem in cutting it up and getting it off the trail. But it's this dead tree that's right on the edge of the trail that it's going to blow over in a wind. The snowfall is going to add to the weight of it. And after you're out there grooming and that tree is coming down, then you've got to no-saw along, usually, and you can't go forward and you can't turn around very easily. So what do you do with that tree? That's a real headache.
How to set up and work on these trails during the season and during the off season all comes from right now just amazing technology. I mean, we are utilizing as much social media as you can imagine to get the word out. We even have a statewide program that we're involved with called SkiWise. And SkiWise allows you to target certain trails and get a reminder about it on your phone that it was recently groomed. We rely heavily on the volunteers in the Bemidji area to come out in the off season, especially in the fall. The better the trails are maintained in the off season, the easier they are for us to groom them during the season. It's just another branch of the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club.
So starting on December 1, that's when the grooming season officially kicks in, and us groomers refer to it as an art and a science. So the science part is the steps using the equipment. The art is kind of knowing what to do, when to do that, given the different temperature and snow conditions. And kind of one of the mottos of groomers is do no harm, because you can do the wrong thing at the wrong time and totally mess up a ski trail, and we don't want that to happen.
We want to build a base of a trail first. We want to pack it down, get a good base going, and then as the snow comes, we try to groom that down.
Usually make 2 passes on a trail system, kind of 1/3, 1/3. And so what that does is gets us a base. And then the next step after that, we need to let the trail set up. So kind of like concrete, right? When you pour it, it needs to set up and eventually get hard. We do the same thing with snow. It takes a number of hours for the snow to set up and get hard. Once that's occurred, then there's 2 other steps that can occur. One would be dragging the trail. What that does is it levels and packs the trail. So it'll take the snow from, say, a higher point and move it to a lower point and end up leveling the trail so it's nice and flat.
We try to make a good track and keep the track out of the woods so that people don't have brush coming in their face all the time.
Getting up early in the morning, going out and grooming. I mean, it's nice to go out early in the morning where it's really quiet and there's not many people out there, but we've been known to groom at 11, 12 o'clock at night too. It's really quiet, but very dark and very scary.
Let's just say we get out and groom as soon as we feasibly can. I've groomed at 4 in the morning, I've groomed at midnight. A lot of times it's when we can get there, because it's a volunteer-based group. First they got to dig themselves out of the snow. Maybe they have to go to work, then they'll groom. So
we try to groom it at least once a week. We got a lot of open fields and things like that things drift in. Depends on snowfall too. If we don't get a lot of snowfall and everything's hard packed, we might have to just scratch the surface and go through it one time and it's skiable again.
My camaraderie with all my helpers, we had such great times going out and working on trails, especially in the fall. We were stuck in mud many times, but my friends that helped over the years, as members of the ski club, were so good about it. That's the joy I can recall anyway.
I think a lot of people want to do it so they know that it's done and it's done well. There's something to be said about going out and grooming the night before and then being the first one on the course the next day. So a lot of these guys and gals like to groom just for their own personal interest. The other is just, seeing people being out there and, when we're grooming in the daytime, passing people and, talking about upcoming events or how well the trails are. So there's a lot of personal pride, I think, in grooming it. I think a lot of it too is just the physical recreation of it, the exercise that you get out of it.
So the ski pass is unique to Minnesota. It's a system that provides funding for all public ski trails in Minnesota. It's similar to a fishing or a hunting license. So anybody who's 16 years or older is required to purchase that pass and have that pass on them when they ski on grant and aid trails. So all of the trails in Bemidji are grant and aid trails. When you purchase a ski pass, then that money goes into a dedicated account. It's managed by the Minnesota DNR that provides the money for grants. And so each grooming entity, including the Bemidji Ski Club, has a grant amount. And it's from that grant amount that provides the money for the grooming. So that's the primary and the only funding source that the ski club has for the grooming of the trails here in Bemidji. So the ski club is always advocating and educating folks, skiers, to purchase the pass.
I can't speak enough for the value of the Minnesota Grant and Aid reimbursement system. It's a program that was started by skiers, and the legislature went along and passed that necessary legislation to allow the Department of Natural Resources to work and develop trails and reimburse different clubs all over the state that wanted to groom and have cross-country ski trails. It's a wonderful system. It's far better than anything I've seen anywhere else.
With all the development that we've done with ski trails and grooming equipment, and now we have 2 different shelters that the community can use, the ski club has been able to provide the community with another avenue that makes it a very attractive community.
We're one of the top ski trail systems in Minnesota right now. So a lot of people travel to Bemidji specifically for skiing in the wintertime. And it's nice that, each trail system that we have has dedicated people. I'm involved with the Buena Vista ski area, and Bob Montebello does the city trails, and Mark does the high school trail. So it's not like we're being spread all out and we're going here and there. We got dedicated people to each trail system.
The number of trails in the Bemidji area, I think, has almost a statewide impact. For sure, Bemidji has become almost a destination area, so its impact on the community is financial. It brings folks up here not just for events. I mean, people come up here, stay overnight, enjoy cross-country skiing. I know a lot of people that have moved into this area because they're interested in the trail systems, the biking, the hiking, and the skiing. So I think it's a super draw. It's promoted as well as we can, and we are actually one of the larger kind of grant and aid systems in the state of Minnesota.
Well, I think my hope and most of the board members' hope is that it continues to be viable and having energy, and to provide that opportunity for newer generations to learn the sport and get involved in it.
It's just a matter of reaching out, going online, seeking something to do with the Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club. I think once you connect yourself, you're going to find a lot of like-minded people. If you know a skier, ask them how to get involved. If you are a skier, go to your local ski shop, get some resources, and you can get involved with the club. And being involved with the club, doesn't mean that you're going to have to work every weekend on something. It's just a matter of knowing that the club provides a lot of amenities for you. You help the club, and the club will help you.
But I got to say that Bemidji Area Cross Country Ski Club is an awesome story. We've been able to maintain all of this for 30 years, and people passing the torch from one to another, and other people picking it up and running even further or faster with it. It's really been a neat organization to be involved with.
I can't say enough in terms of trying to summarize what I feel about cross-country skiing and my work as a trail administrator. It's been a joy of my life to do all this. I've been retired now almost 30 years, and I can't imagine what I would have done in those 30 years that would have been better than what I've done in cross-country skiing. It's meant a great deal to me personally, physically, emotionally. I can't think of anything that I would have preferred to do. I hope that we've got young people that around this area that will keep things going. I think we have. It's been just a wonderful experience. I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Thank you for watching. Join us again on Common Ground. If you have an idea for Common Ground in north central Minnesota, email us at legacy@lptv.org or call 218-333-3014. To watch Common Ground online, visit lptv.org and click Local Shows. Episodes or segments of Common Ground, call 218-333-3020. Production funding of Common Ground was made possible in part by First National Bank Bemidji, continuing their second century of service to the community. Member FDIC. Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money by the vote of the people November 4th, 2008. If you watch Common Ground online, consider becoming a member or making a donation at lptv.org.